Hello and welcome to In the Court of the Wenton Knave. We've reached the two album finale. Here we are. I was thinking, how am I worthy? How can I possibly be worthy? How can I put a thing on the internet reviewing these awesome works? And the answer is, well, I'm not worthy. As I've said from the start, I'm not worthy. These are just mini reviews celebrating this wonderful music. So here we are with the Yellow Shark. This is his final orchestral statement. In a sense, actually it's not quite, but more on that next week. This is a wonderful celebration of Frank Zappa's music. It really is. He was invited to write a piece for the Frankfurt Festival in 1992 by the Ensemble Modern, who were invited over to his recording studio to rehearse and improvise and mess around. And not only did he find they were good enough to play his stuff, they could play his stuff with the right character, and also they could play his stuff with humour, and they shared a similar sense of humour. So it was during that time that one of the players actually played a didgeridoo into a coffee pot, which was subsequently actually used on this album. So that's just fantastic. They had more rehearsals, etc., before the actual show. So this is a very well rehearsed Zappa band who have been versed in how to play the music. So different to the LSO, where they were just given the music to play and they didn't want to play it. This is the final Zappa band in a sense. They performed at the Frankfurt Festival, several shows. They were all recorded. Zappa sadly was only able to attend, I think, 2 of them, unfortunately, because he was ill. They used this amazing 6-channel sound system, and they had a thing called the hoop. And the idea was they could lower this ring of microphones over a particular performer, so they could get a mix if there's a soloist or whatever, so they can really get the sound just right. And the sound is wonderful on this. For me, it hasn't aged at all. If you think about lots of orchestral recordings like the Royal Albert Hall and things like that, where there's spoken sections and things like that, and it always sounds echoey, and this doesn't sound like that, so it sounds wonderful. He also had some dancers. The La 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 Human Steps were dancing as well. Obviously I'm not massively interested in that, but it's interesting that it was there. A whole load of stuff was rehearsed and performed in rehearsal that isn't on the final album. One of the things that was bandied about was bits of N-Light, interestingly. So in the performance, Frank conducted some of the bits. So he conducted G-Spot Tornado and he conducted some of the fun stuff, but they also used the Ensemble Modern's own conductor for most of it as well. I don't know if that was a health issue from Frank, or whether he felt he wanted someone else conducting it, or I don't know. The first track is the intro, where basically Frank introduces what's going to happen in a good humorous way, and he says if there's any underwear thrown on the stage, you have to throw it in the direction of the conductor. Was at him, which I think was great, followed by Dog Breath Variations and Uncle Meat. Now, in a way, these are the definitive Dog Breath Variations and Uncle Meat. This album is like a celebration of Zappa-ness to perfection. It's almost the perfect. So it has to have those 2 songs there, and it's a good way of introducing it. So that's wonderful. Then we've got Outrage at Valdez, which is a really nice introduction to some of the scariest stuff. So it's orchestral stuff that people aren't familiar with, but it's not mad avant-garde stuff. It's actually very accessible, and it's got an interesting pulse to it as well, as do a lot of Frank's less extreme orchestral pieces. Obviously Valdez, it's about this tanker that spilled in 1989. Then we have Times Beach 2. Now Times Beach was a 5-movement thing he wrote in 1985. Apparently parts of it were just impossible to play, and this is the first time this is the only time he actually released any of this piece, because it was just ridiculous to play. But these guys could do these bits anyway. So Tom Beach 2 is on there. This is one of the 2 lengthier pieces on there. It's interesting how a lot of this generally is shorter pieces to get more in, I think, onto one CD. So he's really got a representation of his styles. It's for a wind quintet. It is 7.5 minutes of terror. It is that kind of thing. It is, unlike the previous track, this is not easy stuff. I think this piece is probably one of his most inaccessible pieces ever. Maybe it's one of his best. I really like it, but I know it really, really well. So once you know something very well, it's easy to enjoy it. It was performed in its entirety, but that's not been released when it was originally written. It's like envelopes and novation in art and that kind of thing. So there's lots of swoops and jumps and that kind of stuff. Fantastic. Then we have 3 revised. Now for a while I thought 3 was Times Beach 3 revised, and it's not a million miles from a sort of faster version of Times Beach 3, but it's not Times Beach 3. It's actually part of None of the Above, which we'll talk about a bit. And it's a fast, jumpy piece, and it's only 1.5 minutes, so that, that's pretty cool. But track 7 is The Girl in the Magnesium Dress. As I've said before, I think this piece is wonderful. It's one of those impossible things where you got the synclavier to play, and it just flurries of notes make this sort of, they're not like individual notes. The notes sort of mush together into this blah, 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 blah sound of blobs of sound. It's just fantastic. And yet here you have an orchestra actually performing it, which gives it a different sound, a less smooth sound. But obviously there's an energy in there of performance which makes it just fantastic. Track 8, Be-Bop Tango. Very deserving, I think. And I think this works. It's almost like it was written for an orchestra, really. On Roxy and Elsewhere, it's brilliant, but it's a fun piece. It's almost just written to be hard. But here you get to appreciate just what a fantastic melody it is. And for me, that's the definitive version of Be-Bop Tango. There's only 2 officially released while he was alive, so Track 9, though, is Ruth Is Sleeping, which is a piano piece. Now, apparently there's 2 versions of this. Originally it was written for piano and it's virtually impossible to play, but he had it rearranged for 2 pianos, so it's a bit more possible to play, but still monumentally difficult. The title comes from, apparently, Ruth Underwood used to go to sleep while there was so much rehearsal going on with other members of the band. She would actually go to sleep under the keyboards. But it was actually written in the early 80s, I think, and is allegedly, don't quote me on this one, the first synclavier piece. It's the first piece he tried out on the synclavier, allegedly. I believe so. Then we have None of the Above, which is probably a more accessible piece than some of the other ones. There's some heavy strings bits, there's some widdly violin stuff going on, so that's great. Which I'm assuming is part of a larger piece, so 3 Revised was actually the 3rd movement of what was originally the whole None of the Above, but I don't know the details of it. Track 11 is Pentagon Afternoon, which is a fantastic title, and another bit of modern classical stuff. Questi, Cazzi di Piccione is a fast string staccato, in a sense very typically Zappa, but really heavy. Then we have Times Beach 3, so the 3rd movement from Times Beach. We've got 2 parts of that on here. This is different to the other movement. This is the slower, scary. It could almost be Universe Zero or something like that. It's that kind of thing. But then we have Food Gathering in Post-Industrial America 1992. This is a spoken word piece with sound effects, if you like, from the orchestra, which shows he was still trying different things out. He wasn't just writing notes and making them play it. He was trying different things out, and that's really interesting. It also obviously fits perfectly on the album at this point, where we've had None of the Above, Pentagon Afternoon, Questi, Cazzi di Piccione, and then Times Beach 3 have all in similar styles. This just makes it flow perfectly, and obviously it's got plenty of his humour in it. Then we have Welcome to the United States, which is really funny. I mean, it really is. Regardless of whether you agree with his politics or whatever, this is just really entertaining. Which brings us perfectly into Pound for the Brown, because obviously this is a Zappa band. Remember, this isn't just an orchestra playing his stuff. This is a Zappa band, so they have to play Pound for the Brown because they all play Pound for the Brown. Exercise number 4 is supposedly something from the Uncle Meat sessions. It's one of those things with a continuous pulse going through it. I wonder if it's like a middle section for Dog Breath and Uncle Meat or something like that, maybe. It's really good. Then we have Get Whitey. Now this is the other lengthy piece. You've read Tom's Beach 2 and now Get Whitey. It's some of his most complex stuff I've heard. Kind of like a preview to Civilization Phase 3 in a way, maybe. But it has a character of pensiveness. So it's not as varied as like Pedra's Dowry or something like that. But it is an amazing piece. And of course we get that into, finally, the finale of G-Spot Tornado. Conducted by Frank, or at least it was on the shows where he was there. So I'm assuming this one was conducted by Frank. And also Mad Dancing by La 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 Human Steps. Wonderful. Very special album. Can't recommend it anymore. Brilliant. See you next time.